live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com. This is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Thank you, John. What a dramatic intro. How are things down there in New Brunswick?
I wish I had better internet here in New Brunswick, but otherwise things are glorious. Great weather, nice and cool. Yeah.
It's nice and
Love
cool here too, actually.
Is it?
Listen, I don't know whether to laugh or to cry. I mean, there's obviously a real disaster unfolding in Kabul. The latest word we have is there's no women on the streets. We don't know what's happened to them. They're obviously all in hiding. Little girls are not going to school. They have been up until now. There are reports of beheadings in the streets. The people, Taliban going door to door looking for people who worked against them. In other words, worked for us. We don't know the fate of those people. But you know, John, I think we can stop worrying about all of those Afghanis who helped us. We don't have to worry about them being abandoned by us anymore. I'll tell you why. It's not that we haven't abandoned them, because we have. But we don't have to worry. Do you know why? Because Trudeau has come up there and in front of the mic, and he has pointed a finger at the dastardly Taliban, and he has said, you Taliban, you behave. We Canada demand that you set free anybody who work for us, and not only that, you make sure that they can be evacuated safely. Canada demands this. Well, this would have the Taliban shaking in their boots. Can you imagine this? Holy mackerel. The Prime Minister of Canada making demands like this, and all of the might of Canada. I mean, the might of the United States couldn't do anything. The might of Russia couldn't do anything. But by God, if you start talking about the might of Canada, as I say, Taliban shaking in their boots. Not only, my understanding is, now I haven't had this verified, but my understanding is that the Taliban have been so shaken by this demand and this sort of unspoken threat by our Prime Minister that not only will they make sure that all of those who helped us are safe and sound, fed really good meals, but they will be given free transportation to the airport for evacuation. That's my understanding. Now, it might be a slight exaggeration. It could be a gross exaggeration, but we don't have to worry. Our Prime Minister, our beloved Prime Minister, has come to the rescue here. Now, he was nowhere to be found for the past 6 months, but he's there now. And you know, if you don't think that demands and threats by Justin Trudeau, if you don't think that they will have any effect on the Taliban, won't have the Taliban just absolutely frightened, running for cover, willing to throw in their arms and give up, and just come at it, we'll surrender. If you don't think the Taliban will do it, just think of this. Just think of this. We already have an example of how the bad guys tremble at the mere thought of Justin Trudeau being angry at them. I mean, look at China. Look at what happened when our Prime Minister, that would be Justin Trudeau, the beloved, when he threatened China. Did he threaten China? Well, anyhow, he demanded, he sort of requested, actually he begged that our two Michaels be set free. And we know what happened there, right? So, I mean, well, what happened? Well, whatever it is, we scared the hell out of the Chinese. There's no question about it. And we scared the hell out of the Taliban. Besides which, as I'm examining the media today, it's really interesting. The coverage in the media is really interesting. The liberal newspapers pretend that none of this is happening. On the other hand, The Sun, which is the only conservative newspaper anywhere in existence left in this country, is just filled with stories. Joe Warmington, who was in Kabul not that long ago, he has several friends over there, people who work for him there. He has been trying desperately, along with several others, to get some of them out. And believe it or not, Joe Warmington, who is a columnist for the Toronto Sun, he has been able to get 2 or 3 people out of Afghanistan who helped him. But the Canadian government apparently, well, the Canadian government now says, which is what I said yesterday, that we got about 800 out. How many of those are diplomats? I don't know. I think a substantial amount. The fact of the matter is that Trudeau, as you remember, got before the mic and promised that we would resettle 20,000 Afghanis. These presumably were people who had helped us in one way or another over there. I mean, we've been over there for 16 years or something. And so over those years, a number of people, good number of people, took us at our word that if they helped us, we would help them, make sure that they were safe. But you know, on the other hand, I mean, we only had 6 months to prepare for this. I mean, do you really expect that any government to react within 6 months? Come on. I mean, it was only back in April when Joe Biden, remember him, announced that he was going to pull the U.S. troops out, and we all knew what was going to happen. We all knew what was going to happen is exactly what happened. So, I mean, we've only had 6 months to get these people out to safety. So I don't know what all of the complaints about. And in fact, as far as the liberal media, the Citizen, by the way, included, there's really nothing wrong over there anyway. The Ottawa Citizen's got a little bit of a story about the chaos at the airport. But nowhere do I see to mention the fact that among those abandoned in Afghanistan are some 20,000 people we promised to look after. Apparently, the Ottawa Citizen is just, and I would imagine, no, I haven't seen the Toronto Star, but you can be sure the Toronto Star will somehow or other praise Trudeau for God knows what. It's really astonishing. It's quite amazing and dangerous what's happened to the media in this country when only one newspaper out of the hundreds that we've got is doing anything about this. The Sun appears to be the only chain that's concerned about this and got some stories about what's happening to people that helped us and we promised to look after, and we are not. Anyway, as I said, the media doesn't seem, or the bulk of the media doesn't seem all that concerned. I haven't seen much concern about it from the CBC. So what the hell? I mean, what's the promise to 20,000 people, right? I mean, well, so what? I mean, we're leaving. I mean, they're only Afghanistan, right? I mean, we only had 6 months. What the hell? So it doesn't appear that this is going to be an election issue. From what I can gather, most people are just not that concerned about it. It's quite amazing, actually, what appears to be the major, at this point at least, the major election issue. I mean, with the disaster, the human rights disaster that's occurring in Afghanistan, our abandonment of our friends over there, the terrible situation in Haiti, the terrible forest fires on the West Coast, wave 4 of the pandemic breaking out again, the terrible debt that we're in and mounting debt every single day. None of that apparently seems to be of major concern during this election campaign. It seems to be boiling down is, should we force public servants to be vaccinated? That seems to be the number one issue right now. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. And by the way, once again, Trudeau really misled us. I don't know if he outright lied. Well, actually, he did. Surprise, surprise. He announced that all public servants had to be vaccinated. Well, as it turns out, that's not quite true. You don't have to be vaccinated, but if you aren't, you have to undergo some tests, some frequent testing, which is essentially what Aaron O'Toole said. So here's the media out there. They're criticizing O'Toole. You're not tough enough. We all, public servants, etc., should be mandated to be vaccinated. All critical of him. And O'Toole said exactly the same thing that Trudeau said. If you're not vaccinated, if we come into power, either you're vaccinated if you're a public servant, or you have to undergo a series of tests to make sure that you don't have COVID. So, no, it's not mandatory. No, you have your choice. But if you choose not to, you're going to have to undergo some tests, okay? So why this word mandatory come into it, I don't know. Well, actually, I do. It was just one more exaggeration or outright lie on behalf of our Prime Minister. God help us all. Dumbing down of Canada, pretty well accomplished, it would seem to me, with all of the problems that we have, all of the problems that the world faces that we should be playing some role in. The number one issue is who's tougher on getting people vaccinated? Is O'Toole tougher or is Trudeau tougher on people getting vaccinated? Ethics don't matter anymore. Oh, what the hell's ethics? Principle doesn't matter anymore. What's principle? What's conscience? Doesn't matter. Even competence doesn't matter anymore. Why do you want competence? Why? As long as you got money to throw around, what the hell do you need competence for? It all boils down to showbiz. Okay? Who's got the biggest sparkle? Who's the best looking? Who's the flashiest? Who's got the nicest smile? Who's got the best hair? And that pretty well wins it all. Whoever looks the best is the flashiest, the best showbiz, pretty well wins it all. Now, presumably, I would hope those people who watch this program still have brains intact. I mean, you obviously, if you're listening to open line shows, you care. You're concerned. You want to know what's going on. You want to hear what other people are saying. You are aware, for the most part, of what's going on in the world, and you do care. So good for you. So let me ask all of you brainiacs out there, okay? If you don't think that mandatory or semi-mandatory vaccination is the number one issue, what do you think is? In this election campaign, what do you think is the most important issue, or should be, as far as you are concerned? What's the most important thing for you? What issue do you believe should be front and center? What thing do you think needs to be fixed the first? What do you consider important? Is the economy important? Is the pandemic important? Is ethics important? What is important to you here? Does abandoning our friends and allies in Afghanistan bother you? Does our huge debt bother you? Does all of Trudeau's ethics problems bother you? Is any of that? Does any of that? Does Trudeau's does O'Toole's lack of charisma bother you? Because that's what it seems to boil down to, is that, yeah, Trudeau's got all of these problems, all of these scandals, all of the ethics issues, etc. But O'Toole he's just not very charismatic. So, what do you think? What prompts you? What do you think is the real issue here? And by the way, what do you think about O'Toole's? This is one of the minor platforms, but I think this idea of O'Toole's is probably the one that's going to resonate the most with most people. It's the easiest to understand. O'Toole says, and I think it's rather innovative. Look, we've had a tough 2 years here. Businesses had a tough 2 years. People have had a tough 2 years. We've made a lot of sacrifices. So you know what? Next December, if we get in, if the Conservatives get in next December, we will scrap the GST for the entire month. Only on in-store retail purchases. It won't apply to online. In other words, we want you to go into local stores and buy things. You will do it anyway in December, but a special incentive to do it locally in a store, not online. And we will scrap the GST for that month of December. What do you think? I think it's rather innovative. I don't know. It's 5%. It's not the end of the world, but I guess it's doable. Any ideas on that? Are you satisfied with the way the country is headed? And let me ask you this. Are you better off today than you were 10 years ago? Are you better off today than you were 5 years ago or 6 years ago when the Liberals came to power? Because really, it seems to me that's really the issue here. Are we better off? Is the country better off? Now, we've had a pandemic. There's no question about that. But aside from that, what do you think? John, once again, we're going to go to the phones in just a moment, but let's just go through once again how people get in touch with us. And once again, urge people to share. We only had 12. On Friday, we had about 48 or 49 shares, and the viewership went up almost 1,000. And yesterday, we only had 12 shares, so the viewership isn't nearly as much. So once again, John, just go through that for us, please.
So yeah, on the bottom right-hand side of your screen on Facebook, there's a button that says share. If you would, please. That's the best way. That's how you pay us for the show. Just getting the word of mouth out. So thank you.
Or you can send pennies instead. If you want to send $5, that's okay. But it's easier probably if you just to punch share, right? Okay, John.
Now, if we do that in December, will there be GST or no?
Oh, I have no idea. Just go through
Yep. And I just want to note for the listeners that I am operating from very rural New Brunswick. So there is some choppiness and there is some lag, and we do apologize for that. Trust me when I tell you, we are working very, very hard to make this the best broadcast we can from here. Your phone calls and your texts are welcome. 613-413-2217. If you prefer email, no problem. Lowell@blasttheradio.com. We're available on Facebook, on the Lowell Green page, on the Lowell Green fan page, on the Blast the Radio page. We're on Twitch, and we are on YouTube, and we're following all of those comments live now.
We are ubiquitous. Coast to coast to coast. Coast to coast to coast to coast. Around the world. Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. That's this program. Well, not so powerful today, right? Out in rural New Brunswick. I'm surprised they even have phone service in rural New Brunswick.
I'm wondering why they bother sometimes, Lowell. But anyway, we get it done.
All right, we have a phone. Guy is giving us a call. Go ahead, please, Guy.
Well, Lowell, for me, I think the biggest is competence or incompetence in this case. I don't know if you saw our esteemed global affairs minister with Katie Simpson, who gave an absolute gift from the CBC last night when she asked if Mark Garneau would legitimize the Taliban government. And his response was, well, we have to see how they'll behave. And then Justin Trudeau demanded that anybody who wants to peacefully leave the country be allowed to peacefully leave the country, just like he demanded the two Michaels be released. You know what, Lowell? I am beside myself. I am beside myself to get you to extend this show so more people can call in for 30 minutes. Extend the damn show for an hour during the election period, you stubborn old bugger, and get us some more debate. Because by the time you finish your opening rant, which we all love, and by the time Barry and Jay calls in, nobody else can call in and the show's over. So if I have to send $5 to get you to stay on for 30 minutes, I'll do it. What do I have to do to get more debate? Because I love your show, Lowell, but it's too damn short, and you've got to have time for more debate. Talk radio is two-way, Lowell.
All right. Thank you, guys. Actually, I saw that interview. There is the Taliban with one of the worst rights of records of human rights abuses that we have seen since Nazi Germany. I mean, they regularly behead. They used to. One of their favorite tricks was every Saturday that they had a hanging show at the local arena, and they hanged all of the women who had showed an ankle or tried to get an education or tried to left the house without a male accompanying. They just hanged them, and of course, in the public square. That was one of their favorite tricks. Already, we are hearing reports of beheadings on the streets, knocks on the door. If they're looking for people who helped us, who helped the Allies during the war, et cetera, et cetera. And there is Mark Garneau. I've always had respect for this guy, but I mean, since he became a liberal, this guy is just unbelievable. He says, well, when he was asked, is Canada going to recognize the Taliban government? And Garneau says, well, we'll see if the Taliban behave. Honest to God, we're going to see if the Taliban behaves. And apparently, if they behave, whatever the hell that means, we are going to recognize one of the most evil regimes the world has ever seen. All they got to do is behave. Well, number one, since we won't have any journalists left there, how will we know if they are behaving? Oh, my God. This government. I mean, folks, we've got to get some people in there with some competence. God. Shield, talking about competence. Now, here is a company, local, family-owned since 1947, that is very competent. They have sort of behind until I've sort of latched onto them. They latched on to me on this program. To a lot of people in Ottawa, they were totally unknown. But up and down the valley, Shields was always very well known, highly regarded, and has done very well. Very clear to stay in business since 1947. You're doing something right, and they have. Now, I talked about some of the bargains. If you go to their website, shields.ca, you'll see some great bargains, savings $400, $500 on particularly on Frigidaire. They've struck some very good deals with Frigidaire, probably better deals than you're going to find elsewhere. Give them a call or check out the website. You'll see whatever appliance it is. If you're looking for a new air fryer, kitchen range, whatever it is, whatever the make, whatever the model, and whatever the price range, Shields has got them. Shields, SCHEELS.ca. Thank you. John, we've got some texts coming in here.
Yes, we do. And thank you again for sharing this on your personal Facebook stream, you, the listener and viewer. Text to 613-413-2217. This one from Calgary. Childcare rollout. That is the number one issue for that person. Scrolling back to when you first started, we've got Terry saying, can the Taliban face the wrath of Justin? Wow. What a farce. RPM demanding, says Patricia. Rural New Brunswick internet is brutal. Yes, it is. I agree 100%. Milky, will you ever talk soon? I'm talking right now. Mark, thank you for your comments. I hope you sleep better tonight knowing that I do talk on this show. Melanie says, if France, Russia, USA, and Canada could not help Afghanistan, then maybe walking away is what's necessary. They don't want help. Let it be.
Hold it. You're missing the point. I'm not suggesting that we should have walked away. But we have known that we were going to walk away 6 months ago. We promised these people, some 20,000, apparently, according to the government, 20,000 people who helped us. We promised them that we would look after them, that we wouldn't allow them to fall into the hands of the Taliban, that if the worst came to worst, we would make sure they get out of the country. That's the issue here. The issue is, should we have been in there in the first place? That's not the issue. The issue isn't whether we should have left. That's not the issue. Surely to God, you must understand what I'm saying here. Come on. Okay, you agree with us leaving. Maybe it's their own fault, whatever it is. These people are innocent. They helped us when we asked them. We promised them we would take care of them. We are backing up. We are throwing them to the Taliban wolves. That's the issue here. Please wrap your head around the real issue here. The issue is not that we're leaving. The issue is that we are leaving them when we said we would not leave them. More text. Yes, John.
Actually, an email from Robert to Lowell at blasttheradio.com. Robert says, I'm concerned by a lot of things. I think that what concerns me most right now is national unity. I've never seen this country so divided. It seems that every province works for its own best interest, and we have an incredible urban-rural divide, and Trudeau does not hesitate to drive a wedge into that if it gets him a few more votes. If we're going to have a country, we need to work together. Robin,
good. Thank you very much. Good. I want to address this issue of childcare. A texter said that this is the most important issue. As you know, Trudeau says he's going to provide $10 child care. O'Toole says what he's going to do is make child care costs tax deductible. Let me just point out that O'Toole's idea is much, much better. Let me explain why. One of the things that Trudeau fails to mention is that the $10 child care will only apply to government-approved child care. So if you have a next door neighbor that looks after your child, or granny, or an aunt, or whatever it is, and you have been paying them or whatever a little bit, that doesn't apply. The $10 only applies to government provided, supervised, and regulated, registered child care. And it is always in very meager supply. However, what O'Toole says is, no, there are all kinds of people out there providing child care services. There's granny, there's uncle, this, or whatever it is. So we will make if you pay your granny so much a month to look after your children, etc., next door neighbor, whoever it is, it's all tax deductible. So O'Toole's plan is much better, much broader. Let me just say this, that my daughter is a single mother living in the province of Quebec, which has had $10 daycare. For the entire span, for the first 10 years of my granddaughter's life in the province of Quebec, my daughter, try as she might, could never, ever, ever get $10 daycare. It wasn't available. So what did she do? She had to get some neighbors who had a little daycare center. It wasn't government registered, did a great job, and she had to pay them. Under O'Toole's idea, all money that she gave to them, whether it was registered or not, would be tax deductible. Much better, in my opinion. Much better. Much better. Oh, you see what Trudeau here? He wants the government to control everything. What he is really saying is that that the granny provided daycare is really not. It's not what we want. We only want government registered unionized. It would be unionized daycare. That would be $10. John, we got more text, please.
Yes, we do. I agree with Guy. An hour-long show would be great, Lowell. Where do I send my $5? Love your show so much. Mark says our human rights are the most important. If you want to help the show, could you just send better internet to New Brunswick? That would help us out immensely at this particular moment in time. So our human rights are the most important, says Mark. Mark is listening in New Brunswick, as a matter of fact. Thank you, Mark. Merci beaucoup. Terry says the repayment of the debt must be addressed so the next 5 generations are not saddled with it. Chrissy agrees with him on that. And Andre asks, will any country ever get rid of debt? Some of the comments coming in Facebook, Twitch, and other places like YouTube for you right now.
All right,
sponsor mention in, shall we?
One other question. We're running a little short of time here. Do you agree with both O'Toole and Justin Trudeau? Excuse me. That that in the case of Justin Trudeau, that public servants must be vaccinated or undergo testing. O'Toole is exactly the same thing. I think that makes sense. It's not mandatory, despite what Trudeau claimed. And then I see that Doug Ford has announced essentially the same thing for all healthcare workers and education workers. Either you are vaccinated or you will have to undergo regular testing. Not mandatory, but if you aren't going to get vaccinated, then we must test to make sure that you're safe. I think that those are very reasonable, very doable ideas. And something else that's very doable is Centennial Glass. Here is another one of those companies, family owned, locally owned, done a great job. They have expanded very, very rapidly because they do good work, very reasonably priced. Just check them out as well. And by the way, if you most people, when they're sort of contracting, particularly if it's a major issue, you want to see what other people have to say. Just Google Centennial Glass and you'll see what other people have to say that have had work done by. And I should also mention, because I don't do this often enough, that yes, emergency services, golf ball through your window, your dining room window, baseball gone through your kitchen window, absolutely. Emergency services, and excellent. Doesn't matter whether it's weekend, whatever it is, Centennial Glass. If it's glass of any kind, folks, Centennial Glass, centennialglass.ca. John, almost out of time here. We got more text, or is that it?
We do have Barry on the line. If you'd like to talk to Barry before we wrap things up.
Let's get Barry to do this tomorrow. All right.
All right, Barry. There you go, sir.
We're almost out of time here. So once again, John, let's just urge people to how to expand this program. You say that you want this program to last an hour. Well, one of the ways of doing it is to spread the message so that more people listen. And it's very easy. You don't have to send 5 cents or $5. Just push. John, go through how to do that.
Again, if you're watching on Facebook, the share button is right there. Costs you nothing to share. That just lets people know, look, we can't buy bus boards. We can't buy TV ads. We can't buy radio commercials, obviously. But it just lets the world know that the legend that is Lowell Green is still out there and still doing his thing. And that we've got a show here that wants your opinions and wants to have these interactions. So that's how you can spread the word about that. And it's a big ask on our behalf, and we really appreciate you doing that. So thank you. Obviously, you tune in. You have an interest in the show, so we hope you want it to grow as well. And it's a very, very simple way that you can do that. Reference Lowell and feel free to tag him in your comments when you're talking to your friends and your family about things like politics and world events. That helps us out as well.
Good. Yeah, because, I mean, as we've said before, there are very few platforms anymore that have the conservative message. We see that with the Ottawa Citizen. We see that with most other newspapers. And aside from Rob Snow in the city, I mean, where else other than Lowell Green and Rob Snow, where is the conservative message? I think it's important to have an opposing voice, don't you? If you do, then help us out here. All we ask you to do is just send. Okay, is that what it is, John? They push share. All right, share thing. Thank you very much, folks. We will be back tomorrow, hopefully from Sunny? Is it sunny in New Brunswick? Because it's not sunny here. No?
It's absolutely gorgeous. The sun is shining, and I'm on my way back to the beach in a matter of moments.
Okay, he says with a straight face. Thank you all. We'll be back.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.